Well, it's Valentine's Day. Chad Blair's like, you know what? I got to spend this day with Grace Lee. I'm just kidding. Hello, happy Valentine's Day.
Happy Valentine's Day, Grace Lee.
Oh, thank you. Okay, we're talking about the state legislature and copy and paste bills. Now, if you haven't heard of that, you may have heard of gut and replace, but these are different.
Yes, I'll explain. Gut and replace is something where you literally take a bill and you gut it. You take everything that's in that bill and you put practically brand new content into the bill. It no longer resembles what it used to be. Now, the Hawaii Supreme Court said, you can't do that, and the legislature has pretty much stepped back on that practice.
Okay.
It violates the Constitution. Copy and paste, on the other hand, has to do with taking a bill that's blank. There's nothing in that bill. It's called a short form bill, and then you literally copy and paste content into that short form bill and makes it a brand new bill.
Isn't that just kind of like a template?
Yeah, actually, that's not a bad way of looking at it at all. Now, it's perfectly allowable. House and Senate rules say you can do this. And every year, even though there's a deadline to get all the bills in, it was last month, these short form bills still get introduced. And why they come up? Well, sometimes lawmakers say, something unforeseen showed up. This is a just-in-case bill, if you will. Maybe it's on housing, maybe it's on energy or agriculture. Let's take this bill and make it a brand new one.
Okay. So that's an example of when you might need something like this that's flexible. But what about the danger of something like this?
Well, this is where it gets a little murky. Last week, the Housing Committee in the House actually had a bill, and they got together, the committees, and they voted on it, but it was blank. Still, there was nothing in there. It was like an episode of Seinfeld, Grace. They got together and voted on nothing, yada, yada, yada. Now, the good news is today that bill has now been copy and pasted, and you can see what it's about. It's about housing, all perfectly legitimate. But if you're like me, or if you're a member of the public trying to follow what's going on at the Capitol, it can be really confusing.
So, I mean, but you're saying they're allowed to do this, and I'm sure they like it, right? Because it allows them to introduce pretty much whatever they want.
Right. It's flexibility. For example, another bill has to do with biosecurity, giving the governor the power to say, we got a problem with invasive species. We have an emergency here. As you know, invasive species are crawling all over the place. That's a good thing to have. But again, is that good for the public to give them sort of this last minute notice, a blank bill, and then here's some new content? Very difficult to keep track of. But again, I got to just make clear, it's perfectly allowable.
Also, what's the point of having deadlines if you're just going to allow this?
Yeah, well, that's the topic for another conversation, Grace.
All right. You can read the full article on civilbeat.org or text 66866 to get the newsletter. Thanks for being here, Jen.
Thanks, Grace. Happy.
We'll be right back. Oh, with